Well, let's talk about France and Spain and all the other countries we go on holiday to this summer. Rishi Sunak, we understand, is attempting to negotiate a new Brexit deal. Oh, good, another one, to save Brits from passport queues in Europe. I've just come back from a weekend in Vienna with my mum, and we had a few queues, not too bad. Lots of countries like Portugal saying, yeah, you can use our e-gates, not a problem. Then you get a stamp quickly from the passport man or woman. Certainly we in the UK allow EU nationals and EU passport holders to use our e-gates, but lots of the big countries we've got a holiday to have decided we can't. Well, if we could use those e-gates, perhaps fewer queues. Let's talk about this with Simon Calder. He's travel correspondent at The Independent. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julia, from beautiful Antalya in Turkey.
Oh, every single time. I was just going to say, where are you? And you're always... have you got lovely Turkish coffee there?
It's actually beautiful Turkish chai. Very, very nice indeed. And I'm about to have my breakfast. However, I've said I'm not going to eat anything until I've spoken to you.
I mean, the sacrifices you make for us. I think we're all grateful, Simon. Let's talk about these e-gates, because we're told, well, you know, queuing up to have your passport checked because it has to be stamped by the EU now. Well, that's a cost. You know, that was one of the prices of Brexit. Now, return for democratic accountability of my government, so when they get things wrong, I can help boot them out with my vote. I'm very, very happy to put up with a queue. But it's not a necessary reaction, is it? We've allowed EU passport holders to use our e-gates. Why don't France, Spain and everyone else allow us to use theirs?
Well, OK, let's start about why the UK allows people from the EU to use its e-gates. That's because there is an awful lot of attention that the UK Border Force wants to spend on cases who are not just EU nationals coming to the UK to be on holiday, to be on business, to visit family. Yeah. And so, therefore, we take the very sensible decision. You can come in, just show your e-gates, you can stay here for 6 months. We're not actually going to worry that much because we know that you don't really present much of a threat, and we'd rather concentrate on the areas that we think do present a threat. So why is it different when you and your mum go to lovely Vienna? Well, that's because we said very specifically, we want to be treated, please, EU, as third country nationals. That means we're in the same club as Tonga, as Venezuela, as dozens of faraway lands. We want our passports scrutinised to make sure we haven't spent more than 90 days in the last 180 days in the EU, and we would like them stamped, please. Now, that isn't actually an operation that's easy to do.
Well, hold on a minute. Is there any evidence that we demanded this, or was it just that the EU said, well, if you leave, that's the deal, and we said, OK, fair enough? Right?
No. We said we're not interested in the single market, and absolutely,
No, there's a difference. No, Simon. I know you're a card-carrying Remoaner. There is a difference between us saying we actively want to make the process of travelling to Europe that much harder for people to go away, say, for a weekend or go on holiday to Spain for a week in the summer, as opposed to accepting that if that's the price of us enacting the democratic referendum vote, then so be it. It doesn't have to be as bloody-minded as the Spanish and the French are making it, bearing in mind that Portugal is allowing us to use e-gates. I encourage everyone to go on holiday to Portugal as a result, because they're being friendly to us, and then you queue up and you get a very quick stamp in your passport.
Yeah, I mean, what they're doing is a halfway house. And look, we said we want to be outside this whole single market arrangement. And therefore, that implies we want to be treated as third country nationals. So there is a logical progression there. What Portugal and some other countries are doing is a kind of slight halfway house. It's a fudge. They're basically saying, yeah, we know we're supposed to check everybody's passports and we're supposed to go through Julia's mum's passport to make sure she's not spent all this time. But actually, we trust her. And so all we're going to do is she can go through the e-gates, but then we've got to deploy somebody to, open the thing, stamp it, and off you go. And the same on the way back. So that, I think, is what we will be moving slightly towards. And there's going to be a quid pro quo because I think the EU is going to say, well, what are you going to give us in return? And I think we are going to get backsliding on the you can only come in if you've got a proper passport. We don't want any of your funny old EU ID cards. They are now
because you could buy an EU ID card on the streets of Paris for €20, for goodness sake.
In the olden days, you're absolutely right. And I could put my photo on your Italian ID card about 20 years ago, but that's no longer the case. They are very secure. So I think we will go back on that one, and that will make it a lot easier for Europeans coming here. It will make it better for our inbound tourism industry, and it might make it easier for the Europeans to say, OK, come on then, Britain, we'll create an extra special case for you. It will make it easier for Julia, her mum, and everybody else to go aboard.
Countries should make it easier for people to travel, to spend money in their countries, you know, go to restaurants, go to tourist sites, spend money in hotels. The whole point about leaving the EU was not so because we hate Europe and we don't like Europeans and we don't want to have, you know, cut off on the channel. It was so we'd actually get to control our borders and who gets to come and live and work here. Those are very different things from, hello, would you like me to come to your country and spend a load of money and boost your employment? I mean, it is crazy for any country to try and prevent, you know, law-abiding citizens who want to come and spend money on holiday.
Yeah, oh, sure. But then it's equally crazy for a country of 60-something million people, most of whom want to go on holiday and do exactly what you did. It's slightly odd saying, yes, we'd like to make life much tougher for ourselves. No,
we didn't like... No, we didn't. Reasons. No, that was just a cost of doing... I don't know how all these people managed to get to Florida, given that America isn't in the EU, but they seem to manage that every year.
Oh, sure, yes. Look, there is a balance to be struck, Julia. And I think you and I actually sort of slightly agree on this.
Do we?
I think we do. I think we do for once. And I think we will probably find that. And I think Rishi Sunak knows where that is. But, of course, it's his Brexit as well. Yeah. He's got what he wished for. Yeah. And that's queues at Dover.
We just accepted the cost. Whenever I'm standing in a queue, it's just quite often, in a European airport, and by the way, I'm fascinated by the people who apparently never queued once before Brexit. Apparently they used to just waft through airports, waft through. Never. I've been travelling. I said for I'm the Judith Chalmers of this station. I've always had to queue up to have my passport checked. Unless you're very, very, very lucky on the off chance you happen to arrive, near the front of the plane and first off or something. But I find it amazing. It was just unfortunately a cost of doing business of getting that achievement. Just can I ask you finally though, that fingerprint rule that was going to come in I think in April, then it was going to come in the summer, and this is the EU requiring us to all have our fingerprints, but that's going to come in later in the year. That is going to cause chaos though, isn't it?
Oh, yes. And actually, it's a really good question, Julia, because what I think Rishi Sunak and other ministers are doing, they realise that once you get the requirement, again, that we signed up for to have our fingerprints taken, to have our facial biometric taken, and you're trying to do that at Dover, where you've got to get a car through every 90 seconds. It's going to be absolute madness unless we come up with some fourth country arrangement which is going to make things smoother. I think that would work for Europe. It would work for us, certainly. And it would be just a little step back from the very extreme situation that we wished upon ourselves.
We voted for it in a democratic vote. Maybe not round Calder's way. Simon, you have a fabulous breakfast there in Turkey, the hard life of Simon Calder.